Here is a warm good evening to all the participants. Once again, I take pleasure in welcoming you to this amazing session that's going to be with Dr. Annurag Batra. This is, in a way, 101 or one-on-one with Dr. Annurag Batra, the 101st leadership conversation. We are extremely delighted to welcome you, sir. All of you, please join in welcoming Dr. Annurag Batra. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Nandri. It's my pleasure to be here.
Great. I will quickly do an introduction. May I take 2 minutes to share my screen, please? These WiseViews leadership conversations over the last 2 years, we have completed 100 last week, and this is the 101st leadership conversation with the esteemed guest, Dr. Annurag Batra. And he's going to talk about the most important topic, entrepreneurship, empathy, and equity. We will see how it unfolds in the next 60 minutes. After this intro, we have an opening talk by Dr. Batra for 20 minutes, followed by 40 minutes of Q&A. I take pleasure in welcoming Dr. Annurag Batra with this brief profile of a very, very impactful entrepreneur. He is a serial entrepreneur, media mogul, a journalist, and an eternal optimist rolled into one. He is a first-generation entrepreneur and currently the chairman of Businessworld, the iconic 36-year-old business, media, and magazine brand. Since taking over, Dr. Batra has expanded the media organization into a variety of other formats, including digital events, business world communities, and has taken into its fold the digitalmarket.asia, a leading website on digital marketing, everythingexperiential.com, which is India's leading experiential marketing website, and launched BW Hotelier in partnership with Hotelier International. That's a very, very big tie-up. He has launched several other communities which cater to niche audiences in different sectors under the BW umbrella. At present, Dr. Batra is building the business world business aggressively and taking it to new heights. Dr. Batra also founded the Exchange for Media Group and he serves as the chairman and editor-in-chief for the E4m in short. E4m is India's leading media industry company which houses several brands under its fold. The brands include Pitch, it's a very, very popular India's only advertising, marketing, and media magazine. Then Impact, the marketing weekly, Franchisee Plus, business opportunity magazine, Reality Plus. Reality Plus is India's leading monthly real estate magazine, and samacharformedia.com, which is a leading media industry website in Hindi. Amazing initiatives that he has led over several years. Dr. Batra is also appointed by Government of India as the chairman of an industry committee formed to come up with a vocational training framework for the media, communication, and entertainment industry. He mentors many budding entrepreneurs and enjoys the process of reverse mentoring, as in what he learns from these young entrepreneurs. At BW Business World, there is a platform called BW Accelerate, which is an initiative to provide a structured platform to entrepreneurs for mentorship and growth. It is bustling with activity, as I know personally and professionally how and what happens in BW Accelerate. Dr. Batra is an honorary advisor to stylecandy.com, a household name in the fashion industry, and also co-founder the auto website that is wheelsunplugged.com, which he exited out of 3 years. We exited out 3 years back after selling to Helion back to Trivium. He is also regular speaker on national and international conferences on media, internet, television, media policy, and entrepreneurship. As a member of the Sales and Marketing Committee of the Delhi Management Association and President of the Franchising Association of India North Chapter, he has a vital role to play in the decision-making processes of the industry circles. He is passionate about magazines and he is on the executive committee of the prestigious AIM, Association of Indian Magazines. He also wants to actually give back to the industry, and his love for teaching comes into play in his position as the chairman of advisory board of FMCC, Futuristic Media Communications Center, a leading media and communication school in India. In 2006, the prestigious MDI, where he studied, awarded him the most distinguished alumni of the Decade Award. That's unbelievably stupendous. Dr. Batra believes if you make your hobby your profession, you don't have to work and life is a blessing. Amazing philosophy that he carries with himself, always cheerful, as I know. He's a BTech in computer sciences, which is a degree which he acquired before doing his MBA at the prestigious MDI Gurgaon, which is India's leading business school. With this brief introduction, I once again welcome you, sir. Thank you so much for agreeing to speak with us this Friday. I will also take half a minute or so. Professor R. Prasad is the head of academic wing at the ICFAI group. He brings with himself 3 decades of rich experience as an entrepreneur, as a corporate professional, as well as an academic, all put together. And his areas of teaching include strategy and entrepreneurship. He has had his BTech from the prestigious IIT Bombay and a PGDM in marketing and systems from IIM Kolkata. He has published several articles, papers, and books, and has spoken in various conferences in India and abroad. With this introduction, I'll stop here and welcome you, sir, to give your opening remarks. And after that, we will come back for Q&A. Over to you, sir. Thank you once again for agreeing to be with us this evening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sudhakar Rao, and shall I say Sudhakar Garu, for inviting me. Thank you, Professor Prasad, for doing this for many, many weeks. You're almost completing 2 years of this. This is the 101st episode, so my pleasure and honor to be here. I've known Mr. Sudhakar Rao for the last 8+ years and interacted over the last 7 years very regularly with him, both on screen and off screen. So it's my honor and privilege to be talking to you. I've also tuned into some of the episodes and benefited from them. I know he likes his cycling. He likes his pursuit of knowledge through books and through such sessions. And of course, it marries very well with what you're doing with ICFAI, because that's a temple of knowledge for students. So coming to my talk today, I'm a serendipitous entrepreneur. I didn't plan to be an entrepreneur. I grew up in a middle-class family in Old Gurgaon, and I, like everyone, after MDI, I took up the campus job. Not that I joined the job, but I joined a services organization in real estate, worked there, then I joined HTA. And while I was at HTA, I came up with this idea to build along with a friend, to build a B2B exchange for buying and selling of advertising time and space. 22 years back, to build a B2B e-commerce company was to be ahead of time. And I started Exchange for Media to build a marketplace for the media industry. For the first 3 years, we tried to bring all the stakeholders together on the platform. But as I say, we were ahead of time. Today is the right time to build a B2B marketplaces. You can see it happening in other domains, other sectors, other countries. The time is right now, whether it's see the steel sector, you see the textile sector, you see various sectors. The time is now. Okay. What I want to say is that what started as an endeavor to build a marketplace, which started a daily newsletter called exchangeformedia.com newsletter to do content on the marketing, advertising, media planning, buying ecosystem. And with all humility, the newsletter became so popular, and we broke stories, and we brought perspective, and we brought insights, that it became the homepage of everybody. Exchange for Media over the last 2 decades, I can say, has been the #1 homepage for everybody in the marketing, advertising, media industry. And again, we built a community through events, through online content, through magazine content, through insights, through data, through meaningful initiatives that are some value in the life of a marketing, advertising, media planning by communication professional. And then almost 9.5 years back, I had the good pleasure of acquiring BW Businessworld, which was a fortnightly, and we've been able to expand it into, while we kept the B2C character of the magazine, and we built a daily digital platform, we've been able to build a lot of meaningful business to business and business to consumer communities there. So really, somewhere along the way, there's been luck that has helped me. But what has also helped me is my parents' blessings, God's blessings, because I believe everything that happens in our life is preordained. I'm a Hindu, I believe in Prarabdha, it is preordained. But we don't know what is ordained in our life. So we got to work hard for it. And luckily, my job entails a lot of writing, reading, meeting people, going to events. That's not really work. That's a lot of fun. Of course, there is a lot of work. But when you love what you do, and then you do more of it, and then you get better at it, and then it becomes impactful. So it's a virtuous cycle of loving what you do and doing what you love that creates something impactful. We are 3 days away from God of Cricket's birthday, Sachin Tendulkar. It is his humility that he says Sir Donald Bradman is the world's greatest cricketer of all time. It could be in all of our opinions, Sachin Tendulkar. The only reason I bring in Sir Donald Bradman is because I share my birthday with Sir Donald Bradman. But the God of cricket, Sachin Tendulkar, didn't start playing cricket because he wanted to make money or he wanted to own fancy cars, which he does, or to be famous or a Padma Awardee and a Bharat Ratna. He's a Bharat Ratna, right? Or to the fame. He did it because he loved playing cricket, going and doing his best for India, and that made him who he is. So in life, I was lucky enough to get an opportunity to be in the media sector, and I think of the media sector as my community, as my family. And while the business has to be sustainable, because there are people whose salaries have to be paid, people who work, but at the end of the day, we try and make a meaningful, positive contribution to the media sector. It's a very important sector. Today, information is God, whether it's in politics or civil society, whether it's in business, whether it's in startups. The war for narratives is making media even more important. There is a war for narratives. Whoever controls narratives wins, whether it's a political leader or whether it's a startup founder who has a narrative about what he or she is building. So really, in the war of narratives, media is a very important tool, right? And hopefully, I hope we in the media do our job much better than we do right now. But let me also say, media people do their jobs in too many constraints. The environment is hostile. The system is lined up against the media professionals and media people. There is violence against media people. There is cutting off of excess. There is cutting off of business. The tolerance for honest media is coming down. That's not good for the country. But there are lots of media brands that continue to do great work, even in tough times. There are lots of media professionals, media entrepreneurs who are doing great work, even in tough environments. So really, I feel blessed to be part of the media industry, of the media domain, of the media sector. I pray for abundance of every media company and every media professional, because life is about abundance. Life is a game. Business is a game. We can play it. We should play it, give it our best. But beyond that, and play it with the right rules, play it within the rules. And within that, whoever wins is okay. It's just a game. After COVID, we know that just living and surviving is a blessing. We should be grateful for that. And I'm a very competitive person. Sometimes I can be pushy and aggressive. And Mr. Sudhakar Rao has experienced that I'm not, but I am much at ease with myself. And I'm very grateful to God for wherever we are. Let me talk about entrepreneurship, empathy, and equity. Entrepreneurship in this country has got a fillip in the last 1 decade. And I must also credit the government and the Prime Minister for that. Because when the Prime Minister started Startup India, he went on to stage and he said, it's okay to fail. When a Prime Minister, the leader of the country, goes and says that, it is changing the mindset of entrepreneurs. It's saying it's okay to fail. And I believe there's nothing called failure. Failure is, I keep quoting from my favorite author, Randy Pausch's book, Last Lecture. Experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. And failure is nothing but an experience. You learn from it. The entrepreneur learns from it, moves on, creates something more impactful. There's nothing called failure. When the Prime Minister says that, it changes cultural conditioning of so many years. And that's why also there are role models for entrepreneurs to follow, whether it's the Sanjeev Bikhchandani, XYZ, he did a Naukri IPO so many years back, has funded so many startups. And I can go on, whether it's Mr. Deep Kalra. I mean, these are the early entrepreneurship flag bearers. Since then, there have been many, whether it's a Vijay Shekhar Sharma or a Dipender of Zomato, or Yashish Dahiya policy, but these are the ones who done IPOs. There are lots of them who are not done IPOs, but have built great companies. So really, entrepreneurship is growing. But let me give you 6. The question is, can everyone be an entrepreneur? Yes. But entrepreneurship there's a favorite book of mine called Hard Things About Hard Things. It's about entrepreneurship. It's written by Ben Horowitz. We in India sometimes glamorize entrepreneurship. It looks good from outside, and it is good. But there's a lot of sweat and toil. There's a lot of trade-offs. So let me give you my 6 rules for entrepreneurship. First, which Mr. Sudhakar Rao alluded to, and I have alluded to in my talk, is, Confucius said, make your hobby your profession, then you don't have to work. Choose something that you naturally enjoy doing. If you enjoy doing it, and it can be impactful, and it can also bring in money, it's an ikigai, right? So money is a bonus, fame is a bonus. Enjoy doing it and make an impact. Second, entrepreneurship is about doing a lot with frugal resources and taking responsibility for whatever you do, not blaming anybody for what happens to you or your venture. So really, people who can take responsibility and then be able to take that responsibility and create something impactful can be entrepreneurs. Third is people who can deal with uncertainty. I know if you cannot deal with uncertainty, it is tough to be an entrepreneur. You may not have a skill, but we've shown in COVID that we all have resilience. So entrepreneurship is for resilient people who can deal with uncertainty. First, choose something that you naturally enjoy doing. Second, it is about doing it with less resources, frugal resources, taking responsibility. Third is the ability to deal with uncertainty. Fourth, very important, is entrepreneurship is about leap of faith. When you're working on a new idea, you don't know fully how and in what shape that idea will work, but only by being in the play can you make it work. Can you tweak it? Can you experience it? Can you get feedback, right? So really, entrepreneurship is a leap of faith. You can build business models, you can build theories, you can build paper plans, but till you go out, it's like swimming, it's like cycling. Till you do it, you won't be able to do it well. Fifth, entrepreneurship is a team sport. We glorify the entrepreneurs who lead companies. Yes, leaders can make a difference, and founders and leaders make a difference. But at the end of the day, it's a team sport. You need partners, you need team members, you need investors, you need customers. So while you can be a leader, but it's a team sport. You got to bring other people in. You got to create more leaders. Last but not the least, entrepreneurship is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So whatever you do, look at it from a long-term horizon. Don't look at it from a short-term horizon. This is what the rules of entrepreneurship are. The most important thing is getting started. You learn a lot while being an entrepreneur. And today in environments, a lot of people are intrapreneurs. They lead large businesses. They take calls. So they're quasi-entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs. Let me come to empathy. Empathy, karuna, it is the most important thing. I remember Sudhakar Garu, I recommended a guest to your show and he chickened out at the last moment. Whatever happened, some confusion. You were calling me, I was at an event, or I was not well that day. You were calling me, I was not, but I could feel the fact, because I do a show when somebody is not, I may not have said it to you, but I feel it. Empathy is feeling what the other person feels in whatever situation you are in, or he is in, or she is in. Empathy is karuna, placing yourself in the other person and being empathetic. If you're empathetic, you'll be a great leader. If you're empathetic, you'll be calmer. If you're empathetic, you'll build deeper relationship. If you're empathetic, God will bless you. So empathy is a glue to achieving a lot. Empathy also makes you feel happier. Sometimes you have empathy for yourself, that you've done well in spite of all the constraints and environment. Empathy is very, very important in personal life, in professional life, in business situations, in personal situations. Empathy will lead to more fulfilling relationships. And empathy, sometimes you may not be able to do something about the situation. But the fact is, you can be a genuine empath and be able to just, energy is such that it carries. You don't have to speak, you don't have to make, a lot of physical gestures. Empathy is energy which carries. So, empathy is, I think, the most important. Even if you don't agree with someone, have empathy from where that person is coming from. There must be some reason. Sometimes you don't understand, even I don't. But try and think about it. So empathy is such an important thing as a leader. Having a heart which is empathetic. And also if you're empathetic, you will live a more fulfilling life. What is the point of being an entrepreneur? Whatever you do, it is not just about money and so on and so forth. It is about, can you create more impact? And empathy is the most important. Even when entrepreneurs conceptualize new businesses, whether it's an Uber, it was empathy for a person who couldn't get a mobility solution. So empathy leads to ideas. Empathy leads to solutions. Empathy leads to new business models. So I'm saying you don't have to look at empathy from an ROI standpoint, but it does also help in every area of life. Last is equity. Why is equity important? Equity is important because if you do not give equity to your partners, equity is about involvement. It is about sense of ownership. So equity doesn't just mean equity in the traditional sense of it, or I'm talking metaphorically. Equity is very important. See it at the decision-making table. That is very important. So if you create equity for others, it grows your own equity. And I wrote a piece 10 years back called The Introduction Capital. And the gist of it is, if you help other people grow, God helps you grow. Maybe not the same set of people, but somebody else will. If you help someone, yesterday was a special day, it was Amavasya. I'm sure your mother, father, people would have said, go and do charity, go and pray at the temple. That's great. But in everyday life also, while you may have clarity, all that. So empathy, equity, entrepreneurship all go together. Introduction capital, doing things selflessly for others. We do a lot of selfish things. I also do. Transactional things. But a lot of things are relationship oriented. And I keep saying, just sambandh hai, ya to sambandh hai, ya sabbandh hai. I say it dramatically, it's not exactly like that in my life, but broadly it's true. People you like, your relationship with, you're open to their suggestions, you open your hearts to them, you open your minds to them, you open your wallets to them, So it's a lot about relationships. And many researchers, whether it's Harvard, Stanford, life is meaningful because of relationships. So if you're an entrepreneur, you'll have relationships. If you're empathetic, you will build better relationships. And if you give equity to others, and equity is not just equity in your company, it is listening to somebody better. It's involving them in decision making. It's giving them respect. So equity is very important in life. I leave it at here, and I'll let Sudhakar Garu and Mr. Prasad take it up from here.
Thank you very much, sir. I think this is a wonderful speak as ever. You are an amazing speaker yourself, and I've heard you across various fora in different cities whenever I had an opportunity to listen to you. This one has come as really warm and extremely useful. This is the pithiest form of advice that you have given to some of the growing entrepreneurs around the screen, and I'm sure those who follow subsequently also will find it extremely useful and attractive, because you've simplified it and packaged it so very well without using any PowerPoint presentation. Amazing, sir. I want to also, at this point in time, acknowledge the presence of Professor J. Mahendra Reddy Garu, who is also shared a comment here that your presentation is excellent. He's just keyed in the chat box. I want to acknowledge and thank Professor Mahendra Reddy Garu for being present.
And I must tell you, Mahendra Garu, my gratitude to you. You've been very mature, gracious in whatever you do, and you are a relationship builder, and you cement relationships. I will only leave it at that. But my gratitude to you, I am thanking you, and I think it is an honor to be able to express gratitude. And Sudhakar Garu, I will answer questions, but I want to tell you this. I keep repeating this. When I was 12 years old, which is a long time back, I have an older sister who's almost 4.5 years older, and my mother would say to my older sister and me, "Thank God for your ears being okay, for your limbs being okay, for your eyes being okay, for your nose being okay. And I look at my older sister and say, Didi, why Mama says that? Why do I have to thank God? We're okay. But today I thank God for every opportunity I get, the fact that I have good health in the morning when I wake up, the fact that I wake up, the fact that God allows me to do what I love day on day. So really gratitude is another, it's not a cliched concept. Gratitude actually unlocks the doors of abundance in every way. And if you're grateful, you cannot be upset, you cannot be low energy, you cannot be depressed. So my gratitude to Mahendra Garu for all his kindness and his, ability to cement relationships.
Amazing, sir. Amazing. Thanks to both of you. This introductory remarks given by you has set a foundation for us to actually dwell deep into some of these questions now, which are going to be started very soon. But entrepreneurship, equity, and empathy, how interrelated each of these and how you have practiced in your life has actually given all of us a very nice insight. Thank you so much for simplifying it also. Sambandh hai to very good. Otherwise, sab bandh hai. I think that's the way you have put it. The relationship and effective relationships, and more than effective relationship, what you call fulfilling relationships, you can build when you have empathy. I think empathy is one single most unassailable factor to measure a leader of any entity or any organization, be it a social, political, or business organization, or in family also. Empathy drives us towards being very, very successful and fulfilling in our ambitions. Thank you so much, sir. With these remarks, I would request Professor Prasad to initiate, because we would like to conserve as much time as possible. Dr. Batra has indicated that he would leave by 7:35 or so. Although my request to him is to stay as much as possible.
I'll stay till you need me. I'll stay till you need me.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. I now request Professor Prasad, my esteemed colleague, to start cluster number 1. Over to you, Professor Prasad.
Thank you, Professor Rao. And Dr. Batra, that's a very wonderful introduction to what I would say is a new beginning. That is, after 100, it is 101 before we move to the next century. And so connecting to that, the curiosity in my mind was that how do you position...
How did I lose my hair? How did I lose my hair? I got married 22 years back, and I dealt with a lot of important people. Between that, I lost hair.
Yeah.
No, I'm just.
So that's humorous. And, it does lighten our moments, and it goes with what you've said. So the curiosity here was, what is the importance of combining these three dimensions together when you made the presentation for the kind of audience they have? You've got, most people are working in those who have come. So what is the relevance of combining these three in today's world?
See, I'll tell you, in life, everything is interconnected. In our Hindu Dharma, in Vedic, is written what your forefathers do, what you do for them when they are in heaven, all that matters. It's all combined. It's good karma, it's intent, it's thought, it's action. They're all intent, thought, action are all combined. So, entrepreneurship is about building products, services. And by placing yourself in the shoes of the customer, by having empathy for what he or she goes through, can you build better products and services? Simply, right? So really, and then equity, whether you bring in partners or you do ESOPs or you build a team, equity is very, very important. So having equity is the most important. So they are all interrelated. In life, everything is interrelated. Let me give you the example of homeopathy. When you go to a homeopath, of course, they look at your tongue. From your saliva, they were able to tell you, what are the issues. But they ask you questions about when do you sleep, what do you eat, what are your emotions, how are your relationships, do you have stress, what you're thinking about. Because homeopathy tries to holistically assess what are you going through as a person. Because psychosomatic emotions also impact health and what you do, right? So what I'm trying to say is in life, everything is interconnected. It's not in isolation. So while it sounds like the 3 E's, entrepreneurship, empathy, and equity, but the fact is they're all interconnected like most things in life are. If you have empathy, you'll anyway do well in life. You'll be a more sensitive person. And if you're a sensitive person, you may think deeply about things. So sometimes it may bother you, but mostly you'll be happy because you placed yourself in another person's shoes and also seen his or her frame of mind when they look at you. So clearly they all are intertwined. What is equity in? I'm talking to you and I've done 1 or 2 texts just when we were starting, but I'm fully in it. Giving attention is also equity. That is also equity. I'm talking to all my viewers. I can see some, right? To be able to give your 100% is equity. Eckhart Tolle said the power of now, mindfulness. I think if we are mindful, we are in the moment fully. That is also equity. So equity is not, I talked it in a metaphorical sense.
Excellent. I think you have connected it in a plane which is far broader than what it may materially mean when one reads those words. And you've brought in life to center stage, relationship to center stage, interconnectedness to center stage, and mindfulness to center stage when you are positioning this topic.
Also, you become philosophical when you cross 50 and you're married for more than 2 decades. Between these two, you become philosophical.
Thank you for getting us to the ground with another 2 comments which we can relate to pretty well. So now we come to specific questions which are related to individual themes, and then of course they will combine. As per the entrepreneurship index, the global entrepreneurship index, India is doing well, but a lot of it is small. And now you've got this news about 3rd largest in terms of unicorns. Can entrepreneurship be learned or imbibed? And what can we do, therefore, to create? I'm combining because a lot of questions, so I'm combining a number, so you put focus on it. So can it be learned, imbibed, and what can we do in order to create more business leaders and entrepreneurs in Bharat?
See, first of all, it depends on everyone's journeys. Captain Leela Nair became an entrepreneur at 40 plus. I think he was 46. You can Google that and find out. The age of entrepreneurship overall in India is coming now. But the average age of entrepreneurship across the world is about 40. Now, by 40, you have possibly worked for 15 years. You had experiences, you have skill, you know what you're good at, you understand how the environment is, how business works. So I think you can be an entrepreneur. If you're an intrapreneur, you can be an entrepreneur by starting within your company, taking a project, taking resources and taking a goal and trying to do it. For example, someone who's a CMO, a lot of CMOs come to me and ask me, so how do I become a CEO? I said, take a profit-centered role in your company. Whether it's a small role or a big role, do that well. Then you are doing a revenue role and then you expand on it, right? So similarly, if you want to be, let's say if you're an entrepreneur and you want to be an entrepreneur, ask yourself, why do you want to be an entrepreneur? And let me say to all the entrepreneurs who are watching it, if you're an entrepreneur, you become an entrepreneur, and for whatever reasons, the experience doesn't lead to whatever is expected, you can still come to a job. And, there's no taboo about it. Possibly you'll get a better job, bigger job. Promoters will value you because you've been an entrepreneur. And, you will be more empathetic to the founders and to businesses. So really, it will create a win-win. As I said, experience is what you get when you don't get. There's nothing called failure in life. So I think the road to entrepreneurship or the playbook is finding an idea that somebody can pay for, finding investors, finding partners, finding employees. A business needs 4 things for growing. It needs actually 6. 1, it needs an idea. 2nd, it needs sometimes a co-founder or a team. 3rd, it needs employees. 4th, it needs capital. 5th, needs it mentors or a board of advisors. And 6th is customers eventually. So, if you can find something and align all these things, you can be an entrepreneur. But entrepreneurship is a leap of faith. You may not have all the answers when you start. And what I started Exchange for Media to build a B2B e-commerce company, but today we are a media company. So sometimes you got to play it by the ear, see what it works. We were very ahead of time 22 years back. Today is the right time to build a B2B e-commerce company. So sometimes, and again, I keep saying, we can think I did it, you did it, Sudhakar Garu did it. But most of it is preordained by God. Those of you who read Gita, It is, we are not the karta. It is being orchestrated by God. So, but we don't know what is it. I mean, I believe in astrology and all that, right? But I work hard because at the end of the day, you get what you work for, not just what you pray for. If you work for what you want, you also pray for what you want, then you get what you want. Mostly.
Excellent, Dr. Batra. I think you've given us a pathway. First is that, try to be an intrapreneur, and take on something which is meaningful and contribute. And you've defined some, ways by which that can be done. You also said that you can develop this mindset while you're working anywhere, and that's a good way to begin. Even if you don't take on a project first, we need to deliver in whatever we are doing with a entrepreneurial mindset. So that's also a wonderful idea. And I think the lot of people who are in professional, at least the organized world, certainly can imbibe this and then perhaps move on to becoming entrepreneurs themselves. So I think these are excellent ideas. And in the meanwhile, I think you answered a number of other questions too. So let me get to another question which has come in from the audience.
Professor Prasad, I will disturb you here if you permit me.
Sure, absolutely.
This is a wonderful conversation that's going on, and I can't hold myself back. What Dr. Batra has explained is how an intrapreneur can become an entrepreneur by imbibing a few things. And he has given a roadmap as well. And those suggestions are extremely valid, and it appeals to all of us. In your own case, Professor Prasad, you were an entrepreneur first, and then you have become what probably we can call you as an intrapreneur. How has been your journey? As some bullet points for us before we move ahead.
I think that's a wonderful question. The first point is that, when you do an MBA, unfortunately, even the best of institutions don't teach you what you need in the real world. And what you normally do is you go out and learn. And then in the first 1 or 2 jobs, you do that. But if you take on a venture, I can tell you that you learn 10 times an MBA in the same duration. So what happens is you become that. You become what an MBA should actually be. Like one of the founders of Bharat Pay, who may not be too favored today, he said MBAs take you to the first job. MBAs don't teach you how to do business, right? But if an MBA teaches that, then you are valuable to anyone. So I think that kind of mindset you certainly develop if you are an entrepreneur. And wherever you go, if you apply that particular mindset, you end up creating value. You can end up creating value. You're very cognizant about, small things. For example, cost, some of these things, the 6 rules that have been said, each of them, you internalize that. Then you know that you have to be lean and mean. You have to use frugal resources. You look at the other, the other thing, make your hobby your profession. So once you're an entrepreneur, you won't get into something, which is, it may not be just money making, but you won't spend your time doing that. In each of that, uncertainty, leap of faith, each of that will automatically play. So it absolutely helps, whether it goes from this direction to that direction, or it comes from that direction to this direction. As long as the end of the day, which I realize that you need to create impact on people's lives, whether you call yourself an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur or an employee or whatever it may be. Finally, at the end of the day, what work you do needs to create impact. I think I'll stop there.
And MBAs are much below average. MBA much below average. By the way, can I tell you, an MBA cannot teach you everything. They can only sensitize you. As I said, and Sudhakar Garu, and you will appreciate, entrepreneurship is like, as I said, swimming, cycling. It's an experiential thing. Theoretically, you cannot do it. So only what you get in. However, I think more and more B schools are bringing entrepreneurship education, are bringing more entrepreneurs. Look at ICFAI is bringing. So, I think appreciation for entrepreneurship is growing. And with what you learn in terms of skills, I think all that helps. So between these two, it helps.
Amazing. Both the journeys are extremely valid, and we have an opportunity of learning from both of you in terms of someone MBA from a prestigious business school has not taken any job directly into entrepreneurship. Another person who has taken to entrepreneurship directly and come back into being an employee and an intrapreneur for a very long time. These are amazing lessons. I thought I'll just interject here and point this out. And please carry on, Professor Prasad.
So I think the next theme is about equity. And here, we'll take the position. The question is a contra position. That the question has come as a contra question. So it will help us to get perspective. Equity is an excellent goal. The question is, how does it really work in life and what can one do about it to make it work? The levers.
See, first of all, you got to believe that you're worthy of. I think you attract what you feel you're worthy of. And then, as I said, you work for it. Sometimes it's about asking for it. Sometimes it's about doing extra work so that, the other person feels that, this person will be worth the equity. And, the famous, she's just written a book called Good Power. Ginny Rometty was the chairperson of IBM. She said, when I entered IBM initially, my mentor called me and asked me what my ambition was. And he said one thing, you can't be what you don't see. So, equity is about also seeing role models and wanting to be like them. So it's a lot about equities, about taking opportunities and then creating value. I mean, it sounds jargonous, but it's about leap of faith. Equity comes from extraordinary contributions. So if you contribute, even in your home, if you contribute enough in your home, in whatever way, I'm not talking just financially, in your time and so on and so forth, it helps. So that's what it is.
I think, again, excellent. You also connected equity to entrepreneurship by talking about the opportunity and value creation. And that each individual can do that. They can define that and define that opportunity and do it. And therefore change the world, even though the world may not look at that right like that now. Thank you for that. We go to the another contra question, and that is on empathy. With the kind of competition and change about happening in industries, brands, environment, can the corporate world practice empathy internally and externally?
I think there is more need because of so much expectation, aggression, targets, business expectations. And we all are. I'm very competitive. But I think I'm today much more calmer. I still sometimes get worked up. I still sometimes call the spade a spade to wait. But I think I'm more empathetic. In fact, leaders need to be more empathetic. They need to be encouragers. They need to build on strengths of people. Okay. So I think because the reasons you mentioned, there is even more need. And if you express empathy, even if you don't have a solution, you will be on a human level, be able to connect better, and that will bring out the better in other person. That may not be the objective, and you will feel better about yourself. At the end of the day, why do we work? Why do we want to do? We want to feel good about ourselves, right? So that's what I would say. So empathy is possibly the single biggest quality one needs to be able to work in a team, to be able to work with diverse set of people. Empathy is what binds each one of us. We had empathy in COVID for each other, for people we didn't even know. But empathy should also come in good time, not necessarily in just bad times. If you have empathy, possibly the bad times won't come. So that's what I feel.
I think, again, an excellent connection between empathy and entrepreneurship. You brought it through the need. It is absolutely a need, and therefore the people who get into the need and try to satisfy it are, again, entrepreneurial mindset. I think you also defined it that this is something like the oil. I mean, it is there in the environment. It must be there in the environment for the whole thing to function well.
Right. And I was just researching on empathy just before the session. And we all have a connection with each other. If we find in a mysterious connection, we don't have to look for empathy. It exists. We have to discern. And I think the greatest gift that we all have is we have the power of empathy. Why somebody is saying no, why somebody wants to do something, why something is important to someone. Sometimes I called Sudhakar Garu because those were days when I was not profitable. I'll say it as a company. So every penny was very important for me. Not that it's not, but we are comfortable. So it's not, so sometimes it's not about that I want to have a certain kind of conversation. It's just that my circumstance. So I'm sure Sudhakar Garu was empathetic to us. He was, right? I also have to be an empathy. So if you have, as I said, empathy is energy in motion also, kindness in motion. It gets through. Basically, it's a respectful understanding of what the other person is experiencing. Sometimes you may not understand the why, because there may be childhood conditioning, there may be trauma, there may be expectations, there may be other things in his or her life. But and I would say empathy is the medicine that the world needs. And I'm very driven, I will not say, but I would like to believe I have empathy. That's sometimes you have, and sometimes you can't do anything about it. You just have, and sometimes you also have to safeguard yourself. So you may be empathetic, but you also have to be empathetic to yourself. Sometimes, rarely I block people, maybe 2-3 people I blocked, but because I want to save my sense of, I also want to be empathetic to myself.
I think again, yeah, sure, sir.
And compassion and empathy go along. The ability to appreciate other people's suffering, not appreciate in the sense, feel it, and, honestly, it is proven that a hug, a touch produces such chemicals in the body which are good, whether it's from your mom, it can be from your children, it can be from a brother, it can be from a friend. Too often we underestimate the power of a touch, smile, kind word, a listening ear, and the smallest act of caring. And honestly, all these have a potential to turn a life around, make you hopeful at that point, and then rest the God helps.
Excellent. I think what you're also emphasizing is that in this sort of what they call a VUCA world, and technology dominating and everybody going in a mad rush in a certain direction, and then there's a lack of time, there's a lack of energy, there's a lack of compassion. This actually needs to go along with business models.
Absolutely.
Excellent, sir. So here,
it's not easy. Yeah. It is not easy. You have to train yourself.
Yes.
And you also have to understand what is the balance.
Yes.
But it's okay. If you're kinder to someone and he cheats you, it's okay. It's rather than you being unkind and that person cheats you.
So here there is
and let me also say, we all have enough empathy. Sometimes we may not have the enough courage to display it. It's not that we don't have it, or Sudhakar Garu doesn't have it. Sometimes we all, I also, I may be in a hurry, I may be rushed. So one of the things that I want to do is to create more free time for myself.
So here I'm connecting to the next question. And this question is that, a lot of people are sensitive. So I don't see issues there. But what I see is that, looking at the conditioning and the outside world, people, there is a fear factor, is a lack of courage factor. Now, can you make some suggestions on this side to the audience? Practical suggestions.
I'm a big believer in Dalai Lama. I met him twice. I don't know him very well. Once Mr. Rajiv Malhotra, who was about 15 years back, and then about 10 years back. He said one thing which is still aged him. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. You are doing this for yourself. You're not necessarily doing it for others. And again, empathy is not a relation between the healer and wounded. It's not the other person has some problem. It's a relationship between equals. It's just at that point of time, he or she is feeling something which may need a balm, which may need a shoulder to cry on. It may need just a ear to listen. So I have a better listener today, but I have a long way to go.
Okay. So when you say,
and I keep saying, I posted today in the morning or sometime in the day, if you can't see eye to eye, let's try to see heart to heart. It is not easy. And all this is not easy. All this is not easy. But with practice, it can happen.
Excellent. So I think, this question also, in a way, addresses this need to be fearless, that you're doing it for yourself. You're doing it for your own evolution. You're doing it not because the other person needs it, because you need it. And therefore, it's a relationship of equals. So I think all this come from that.
Right. Absolutely.
So at this stage, I'll stop, though there are some more questions. I'll hand it back to Professor Rao.
Thank you very much, Professor Prasad. Sir, Dr. Batra, it is a very nuanced and detailed explanation that you're providing to each and every term. These are not 3 E's, but these are 3 books. These are 3 practices that are essential to our learning and relationship building and being successful in our work and life. This is amazing. I am all glued to the pearls of wisdom that are coming from you. And this is an amazing evening. I would request all the members who would like to talk to Dr. Batra directly may raise their hand. And in the meantime, I'll take a few questions and I'll request Dr. Batra to respond. Sir, you have had an amazing stint at entrepreneurship over the last 25 plus years. That is not a small time, and through thick and thin, because we go through all kinds of ups and downs, successes and failures, or unsuccessful attempts that we make. I'm sure you have strengthened yourself, hardened your core, and built the resilience and move forward. Therefore, so many lessons are coming from you. Here is a hypothetical question. In today's scenario, based on the experience like someone you have, if you have a great business idea, are you open to hunting for or recruiting young entrepreneurial champions who you will make the face of your business idea, and they will become the startup founders, but you will be a partner in their organization? Such a model, does it have any visibility and validation? Will it work? Have you tried any time of this kind?
See, we ran an accelerator in BW called BW Accelerator. In my personal capacity, I do invest in startups, but I put money, but more than money, what I bring to is go to market. The ability to. So I think I look for ideas where I can add value beyond my money, and I look for chemistry. By the way, so I think I built two businesses. Both have to be reinvented. The nature of media business is such that every now and we have to reinvent, think of new ideas, think of scale. But I think, as I said, entrepreneurs are very helpful in building businesses. So I'll be very happy in collaborating. And hopefully I want to, over the next 3 years, also incubate businesses, build businesses, invest in businesses, bring my skills, my relationship, my Rolodex to the fore in building businesses. And as I said, people who have built some businesses internally, they're of value. So in fact, in Businessworld, me and Prasad, who was a board member and a partner in new projects, we are planning to launch something called 1.1K. It is that we will help 100 startups and 1,000 SMEs in a deep way to build businesses. We are relaunching the BW Accelerator. And, personally, my ambition is at some stage, I don't know, God does fulfill my ambition, is to launch a media tech accelerator. Because I really understand the media business, or at least I'm a student, I understand some parts. So to be able to bridge the gap between media tech and the new media and old media, be able to bring the various stakeholders together. So I'd be wanting to incubate media tech businesses.
Great. These are some ideas for the aspirants who are around the screen.
And collaboration.
Collaboration, yes. Collaboration, yes. And many people can do that, young and old. I mean, young and not so young. So thank you so much, sir. I will request Mr. Sanjay to ask his question, but before that, allow me to take one question. Can you explain a little more, sir, about some of the practical examples of introduction capital that worked your way, or that worked for others for whom you have provided introduction capital, so that it can be taken home very well?
So basically, I can tell you in my life, different people have introduced me to customers, they've introduced me to investors, they've introduced me to collaborators, they've introduced me to mentors. So really, I can give you names, but I'm not giving you names, but trust me, I believe in it deeply. Collaboration is what unlocks the value. Collaboration is what builds scale. And collaboration happens because sometimes one person is introduced to another person who may bring, maybe not the same person. So, one of my classmates helped me raise funding. Another classmate helped give me his office space. When I bought Businessworld, it was one of my classmates who called me to tell it's up for sale. I collaborate deeply with him. So, I think I have at least 50 to 100 instances, some small.
Yes, sir.
There are many instances. And, people are kind, people given me money, people have given me trust. So, it has happened more than 50 times with me.
Amazing. I'll request Mr. Sanjay to take that question. He has raised his hand. Over to you, Mr. Sanjay.
Sanjay Gadale from Hyderabad. Yeah. He says, good to see you.
Hi, Annurag. Sorry, can you hear me?
You? Yes.
I'm fine, Annurag. I had planned to be back in Hyderabad today. Unfortunately, I'm in Bombay. And
Well,
good to catch up with you almost after a gap of 5 years after you had your talk at the HMA when we had invited you. Actually, I just wanted to have feedback from you on day to day after having successfully worked on your Businessworld brand today and created that into a sort of a digital media brand. What has been your experience and what are the hits and misses that you think
see, I think I have a long way to go.
Businessworld go through in the last 5 years?
See, I think I have a long way to go through Businessworld, and I think in digital we have not even scratched the surface. Long way to go. It needs money, and at some stage I will be able to raise that capital to put in it. It needs better quality of talent, and it needs money. See, you have to over-invest in digital to be able for it to become valuable. I think that's very, 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 very important. That's the first thing I'll say. Second is we've been able to do some good things. The print issue looks good. We've been able to build 27 B2B and B2C communities, which are all growing. I think the future of business world is good. The future of media industry is good. I think the issue for all business publications is to be able to grow the universe of readers on business. And I think they're doing it. Now we have Business World in Hindi also. So, the Hindi heartland is a big, place.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for that response. I'm sure Sanjay is traveling and we'll restrict to one question. Thanks, Sanjay. And I have another interesting question from one of the participants, sir. Here it is. The way BW has grown, is it not extreme brand dilution because you are into events or driven by events almost everywhere media company? How do you look at this comment?
Not at all. If we had diluted our editorial product, you could read our magazine. It has more pages. We print more copies. Its distribution is bigger. Look at our columnists. We have the kind of columnists we have. So our editorial product is our key. And I'm in the business of audiences and, brand. So the brand event, what happens at an event in terms of editorial is also editorial content, video content. So in fact, we enhanced the brand. We have capitalized on the brand. So yeah, I don't agree with you at all. On the contrary, I mean, we have built and, the brand has got enhanced because of that.
I totally agree with you. I think the way the BW has laid out its role plan has been amazing, very impressive in terms of enveloping various communities, some of them niche, some of them general, but the way it has grown audiences, the customer base to it has been amazingly good. And my experience with some of the B2B audiences and communities that you have built has been pretty nice. You ramped it up even during COVID and using technology, without technology as well. With the power of editorial content, it has moved up, and the power of partnerships when you bring those communities and make them immersive in your ideas and the philosophy of the community itself. It was wonderful. I have experienced it myself. Amazing. I think I like that answer, definitely. Thank you so much, sir. The next one.
You have contributed to that. And I genuinely believe our best phase is ahead. We'll strengthen our editorial product. We'll build bigger scale. We'll build digital. We'll build bigger events. We'll invest more in communities. And we will continue on the journey. We'll expand in the South. We'll expand in Northeast. We'll expand in East. And we'll do much more. But it's to deepen what we do, improve what we do, pursue excellence.
We have a very important hand that has gone up. Welcome, Professor Mahendra Reddy, sir. You are wanting to ask a question to Dr. Batra. Yeah. Over to you, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Mahendra Garu, how are you? It's so nice to have you on the screen.
Thank you so much. Excellent lecture. There was fantastic discussion. I don't want to hold you. You have to go by 7:30.
No, I have time. As much time. Don't worry.
One thing which is bothering me and all the 1,000 vice chancellors in the country is about we have not been quite successful in creating the entrepreneurs on the campuses. Innovation and entrepreneurship are the most important things, as the Prime Minister has emphasized. Now, what is it that we should do more? People like you, can advise to increase the entrepreneurship, to increase the innovation, and even unicorns, which you said, not many are from campuses. They are from outside. You see, that is a very good India has. But in the campus, what is it that we should do to enhance the entrepreneurship so that the problem of unemployment in the country will be solved? And thank you, sir, for the excellent lecture.
Thank you so much for asking that question. I think we're getting better, but unlike the US, for example, you rightly said in the US, Facebook was created by Mark Zuckerberg at a campus. There are many businesses. Today, let me tell you, I'm in Bangalore today. I'm doing it from Bangalore, you're in Hyderabad. There is a fund that is only for campus entrepreneurs, 20-year-olds. It only funds people who have ideas on the campus, catches them young. So things are changing. The Atal Innovation Mission is also a good start, though it has not worked out in the way it should have. It has become a real estate play and not an ideas play, let me say that. But it's all good. We're moving towards that direction. I think today there is an air of entrepreneurship, and I promise you in the next 3 to 6 years, you'll see at least 10% of the ideas that become large will come from campuses because of the conscious focus that these funds have on campus entrepreneurs.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Amazing. That gives us a lot of hope. Thank you, sir, for raising a very important question. And what it also means is generally what Dr. Batra does is he has a platform called E4M. When any senior professional is shifting the job from one organization to another organization, or if there is any high-level recruitment, a C-level recruitment, they're the first one to break the news. And it is so appealing and it is so helpful to the people who follow those companies and those brands to understand the change in leadership. And here is when you responded to this particular question, it was like this. In the next 3 to 6 years, as you mentioned, we'll have 10% of large ideas coming from the campuses. It's a very, very nice lowdown on what is emerging on campuses, especially with the fact that you are dealing with a special fund right now for 20-year-old, that is those entrepreneurs on campus. There are many dynamics, many things are changing for good, and there is a reason for hope. Thank you very much, sir. It is important for us to understand these things, and I'm sure all the participants are liking that important point that you made. Sir, the next question, if you permit me, related to what we have been discussing, but slightly different. Are we producing jack of all and masters of none in our educational institutions? And that's the reason we have gone low on the output of generating entrepreneurs from the campuses. What's your comment?
See, at the education level, you have to create journalists. At some journalists being GE and journalists, they have to know a bit about it. And then they super specialize, whether do an MTech or whether do a PhD or the area of work they choose. But I don't think what is most important is to be able to also give them specialist skills. But at that level, the education should be more holistic. It should be more broad-based. It should be education and not specialization. At some stage, the person can choose. But I understand when you say we're creating jack of all trades, master of none. I think that's where the role of research and development. You develop case studies. There's the role of developing case studies. The role of sponsoring professors for consulting, for research, that comes in. I think that's what's most important.
Your
Great,
videos
sir.
off.
Yeah, great, sir. That answers the way you look at the
evolving
thing on campuses.
In campuses, there people have courses on museums. People are doing, in Europe and America, whatever culture, heritage they have, they spend a lot of focus, energy, money, attention in nurturing it, in building, archiving. Here we don't archive, we don't life is not just about making money and, life is about a lot more than that, right? That's one, money is just a tool. It's about getting excited about a book. It's about getting excited about an article. It is about an idea, about a person, about history. about music, about culture. So I think things are changing. Things are changing, but we still have a long way to go.
We have still a long way to go. Thank you, sir. I'll just take the next question, and before we come back to Professor Prasad, how do you incorporate social emotional learning in your lessons? This is
Social. Dr. Prasad, you will have. Are you talking to me or Dr. Prasad?
No, this question is to you, sir.
To me?
Yeah.
So social emotional learning is, see, I am very authentic. You've dealt with me. Don't tone down. I've learned to be polite. So you share your experience. Social emotional learning. I mean, it is good storytelling, authentic storytelling. If you share that, I think social emotional learning will automatically happen. That's how I would like to see it. Rest, I hope I've been able to answer your question well.
Yes. We will try and seek a few more answers from Professor Prasad. But before that, let me go for one more, sir. This is also an interesting point that one of us wanted to understand from you. What, according to you, think is the stage or the intensity of the framework of government policies? Is it enough to promote entrepreneurship in India? It is at what stage, according to you?
I think entrepreneurs don't look at the government for support. Let me tell you. Government is doing its bit of creating the right frameworks, the right policies, security. I think government can only do that. Entrepreneurs have to be able to help the governments by doing job creation, by creating enterprises, ideas that help the nation, that create GDP, that safeguard the nation, that save health, lives of people. So I think the government is, let me say the government is doing a fab job. Look at what it has done in UPI. Look at what it's doing with ONDC. Look at what it's doing in infrastructure. Look at what it's doing in terms of its diplomacy across the world. So government is doing a super fab job. The government's job is to create policy. I'll give you, this government is one of the most progressive governments. I'll give you an example from the drone sector. Now, last year, in a very short span, the government brought a drone policy. In manufacturing, the government not only brought the policy, but it also said we'll be a market maker. We'll buy $1 billion of drones. So suddenly, overnight, it kickstarted the drone economy. So this government is, very proactive government, especially in new areas, especially in technology, especially in manufacturing, especially in data, especially in semiconductors. Because the government understands that India has a real chance of being in the top 2, 3 and being a superpower like it used to be. I mean, I'm on the board of MDI and I was in a board meeting and we were talking about MDI Murshidabad. Murshidabad, pre-British, used to be the richest city in the world, or among the richest cities in the world. Can you believe that? It was plundered. So we have to, this government, if there is one government that can restore the nation's pride and the nation's rightful place in the annals of history and secure it in the future, it's this government.
Great. Thank you very much, sir. I think the government is doing a great job in terms of promoting entrepreneurship. Several initiatives stand testimony to their effort and intent. And as you have rightly pointed out, it's been amazing. There are a couple of questions also. I think I will address those things. From Mr. GSBS Chowdhury, he doesn't want to ask directly, but there is a chat message which says, my son, who is just graduated in computer science and engineering, has developed an automated evaluation system for student answer scripts, the handwritten answer scripts. What are the agencies that he can approach for a support to undertake further development and commercialization of the product? Would you like to answer this, sir?
First of all, don't use the word support. Okay. Today, luckily, there are accelerators, there are entrepreneurship support ecosystems, there are incubators, there are accelerators. The Ministry of Science has one, every ministry has one. So he has to be able to, he can mail me and I will look at it and I will connect him. So it depends on, what stage is he in, and we'll take him to someone. So today, the beauty about the ecosystem in India is you have right from the early stage ecosystem to a late stage ecosystem, right from incubators, accelerators, angel investors, go-to-market enablers. We have everything, investors, and so if your son has a idea, write to Sudhakar Garu, write to me. My email is anurag.batra@businessworld.in. Anurag is with a single N, anurag.batra@businessworld.in, or anuragbatrayo@gmail.com. I'll look at it, spend some time, and then guide you. Or you write to Sudhakar Garu.
Thank you, sir. I think that assures the parent so much in terms
This is
of addressing it.
Mr. Chaudhary.
Mr. Chaudhary. Yeah.
Yes, I'm also writing my email in the chat
Yes.
box so that you know. And I will do my best, and I'll also give you my assessment. And I'll take you to one or two other people who can give you a more granular assessment of what it is.
I'm sure, Mr. Chaudhary, that is going to be very useful. What sir is
May I just add?
What sir has explained is that the ecosystem at this point in time is much more matured and supportive to the emerging entrepreneurs. All business ideas will be supported. The ecosystem will come together to help you, and some of the initial points and contact and introduction can be made. Dr. Batra himself has volunteered to look at that, evaluate, assess it, and help that looked at by few others in the domain who are experts as well. So thank you. I'm sure it addresses. The email IDs are also given. So kind of you, sir. And Professor Prasad, yes.
Yeah. I think GSVS, I think we are on this, and we would ourselves be interested in knowing what kind of solution it is, because this is one of those ideas which has come. Make people write with their own hands rather than cut, copy, paste from somewhere else. So you know where to get in touch with me. We will also look at it.
Great. I'm sure. I love this question and I love the answer much more. Thank you so much. There is one question put out by Mr. Sanjay. While I said he was not able to take more questions, he has somehow managed to send in one more. Sir, the question is based on the building and nurturing of marketing white book and its extensions, what have been the learnings from the print publication, and where does it stand in 2023?
Okay, see, let me tell you, virtual is growing, there's no question, digital is growing. But let me say this, the more the value of digital, the more the value of print. It sounds oxymoronish, but the more digital grows, the value of touch. I brought a copy of the Time magazine, right? 100 most. I mean, I have a digital copy, I still bought one, right? I have my own Businessworld. We just done at JV for launching the world's most luxurious watch magazine. It's a magazine, we printed a copy, okay? So it's not going to go, print in our lifetime is not going to go away. And let me say, young people, my daughter is 19, almost 19. She buys books and magazines, right? So it's not an either or, it's an and. And India is a country which is and. A lot of people access things on digital. A lot of people access things in print. Okay. So this is what it is. Print is not going anywhere. You have to build around it. Also over-invest in print. So we are in the business of brand and content. Print is growing. There is a certain amount of credibility of editorial content in print. There is a certain amount of credibility in advertising. So it's not either or. Print for the next 5 years is going to be very strong.
Amazing. Yeah, I think this is coming from someone who has nurtured the print, and of course, Sanjay has taken the name of Marketing White Book, which is prestigious, and every time.
So this year you'll again see the Marketing White Book, and I'm sure you'll enjoy reading it.
We are eagerly looking forward to reading the next Marketing White Book, MWB. Thank you so much. There's another interesting question coming up from Srinivas. This is, could you please enlighten us about journalist entrepreneurs in the country? Is it profitable if someone enters into startup business in the media sector at this point of time? I think you partially mentioned about it earlier.
Can I tell you, Mr. Arun Puri is a CA, is a journalist who started India Today Group, and look at the quality of what he does. Look at Aaj Tak, look at India Today, and let me say India Today magazine. They do a fab job, right? And life is about, look at Dr. Prannoy Roy. I mean, he may have exited NDTV, but look at what he built. Tremendous respect for him. Look at Arnab Goswami. What has he built from scratch? Look at Mr. Rajat Sharma. So, as long as you have the ability to be able to put something unique on the table, and they all work tremendously hard. I know Rajatji works so hard. I know Arnab works very hard. So really, if you have a differentiated idea and you have the ability to get out of your comfort zone and the ability to raise capital, you can build and look at in the digital space. I talked to broadcasters. In the digital space, there are many. There are at least 50, 60. So, and very big editorial heads have built these businesses. So go out, do it. It's the right time to do it.
This is the right time to start up businesses in media sector. And then as you have given the examples, if you have unique content and differentiated idea, you should go all out and do it. Thank you so much, sir. And I will now, I'll now request Professor Prasad if he has any question to take, and then we'll sum it up because we are at 7:53. We are touching 8 p.m. very closely. Yeah.
I think the questions have been answered through some of the other queries, so I leave it at that.
Wonderful. Dr. Batra, this is one session that I have enjoyed the consumption very well. The consumption has been pretty seamless in terms of me sitting in front of the screen and trying to understand. And it has been so positive, reinforcing, hopeful, optimistic, all at the same time. Given the fact that I've heard you speaking many times on different occasions and different platforms, this one somehow has sounded very different. You stuck to the theme, and the theme has been very, very useful in terms of its explanation, in terms of adding some of the experiential viewpoints to it. And that's what is the essence of these WiseViews leadership conversations. You have really adorned this session with your expertise and expert experience drawn from years of journey in your entrepreneurship. Sir, let me also take just 1 minute or 1.5 minutes to summarize some important bullet points that you mentioned for the benefit of all those who have joined a little late. This session has highlighted the interlinkages between entrepreneurship, empathy, and equity. And for like every game, this also has certain rules as simplified by Dr. Batra. Some of the 6 points that he has mentioned are very, very valuable. When you go through these 6 important key cornerstone points, you have actually defined the journey of an entrepreneur, and entrepreneurial journey is not going to be easy. As I said, it is a marathon and not a rush. It's not a dash. It's not a sprint. So in terms of defining and explaining and rolling out how this has to be looked at, has been extremely useful for us. Now, for every successful entrepreneur or an educationist or a career-oriented person or an individual, there has to be an underlying belief. Like we say for brands, it is applicable to individuals as well. The underlying belief of how one crafts oneself when you look at life experiences, it impacts a lot on your decision-making process. As Dr. Batra has mentioned, that he thinks a lot of things are preordained in life. And we need to work hard, we need to have faith, we need to have belief. And then the framework of this entrepreneurship, empathy, and equity, then it becomes really recognizably useful when you have this framework with an underlying philosophy like this, being very grateful and thankful to what has been done in the past, the karma, and also deep-rooted faith in what our heritage and ancestors has given us, what our parents have given us, belief and trust and value for relationships has given us, is only drawn from that experience and those lessons which you use in the journey of entrepreneurship or non-entrepreneurial journey in your work life. So that is so amazingly connected and extremely useful. So it has placed clarity for all of us, and that's what I wanted to say. And the other important factor is the war of narratives, which becomes a priority today. You want to contribute, especially in a media sector, in business, like the way Dr. Batra has been contributing. It is the war of narratives, either for an entrepreneur or for an employee or someone in politics or someone in a media organization to handle or look at. This is just a war of narratives one has to deal with and grapple with. And there are several lessons that we have understood, that it is one is, which is the oft repeated one, that we need to normalize failure. Yes, we need to not only normalize failure, but there is nothing like failure. Either you succeed or you learn. That is the experience one gains. That is what Dr. Batra has mentioned. Then Dr. Batra is a well-read individual. I know personally also. He has gifted me several books, and I have gifted far less number of books to him than he has gifted to me. But he reads lots of these books in spite of having a very busy schedule. And this ability to pull out some of the lessons, even during the course of our conversation, he has mentioned at least half a dozen books in the contextual manner. And that talks about how well-read he has been. Now, for entrepreneurs, he said, getting started is more important without even having the full plan of action clearly written down on a piece of paper. But getting started itself is a leap of faith and many other things that will fall in place. And he has also alluded this to the way some of the successful entrepreneurs work, and he calls them quasi-entrepreneurs. That's some sucker, and that's also a nice kind of thing to listen to and understand and learn from for members around the screen today. Empathy, as Karuna he has mentioned, is the ability to keep oneself in others' shoes, both in business situations and non-business situations, to create ideas as if you are in the shoes of the customer from a business point of view, or in a non-business point of view, to help someone by imagining oneself in shoes. But the cornerstone here that he has mentioned, which is very, very appealing to me and stays on top of my mind, is that only in bad times you think of others, just like in Corona times. No, empathy should be there in even good times, so that there are no bad times at all, so that we don't get to bad times. That's an amazing point that I would like to take home. And how do you practice this? The advice is to be a genuine empath yourself. I think we need to be genuine. We don't have to do this to score some points, to win some likes and conversations on social media, but we need to practice it when nobody else is watching us, to be a genuine empath. I'll take home this important point that Dr. Batra has mentioned. The other thing is about equity. Equity connects very beautifully, or it's a derivative of empathy, but leaders will have to deal with this. Entrepreneurs or non-entrepreneurs, we'll all have to deal with this equity. Equity is to make sure that underrepresented, those sections or those kinds of people who are not represented properly, irrespective of what is their background, how do you make them and bring them to the decision-making table, apart from the traditional discussion on equity that you have a partnership in your own organization. I think equity transcends beyond those technical definitions. It gets into aspects that touch everyday lives, and then it builds our relationships. Healthy relationships are built, as he says in Hindi. Either you have sambandh or sabbandh hai, more or less. I mean, if I can do that. So what he says is, our intent, thought, and action have to be looked at in a holistic manner, in a combined fashion, and then you will unlock the power of now and the mindfulness, and therefore this is nothing but equity. I think beautiful definitions and correlations that one has given today. I would myself love to go back on this entire conversation once again, this video recording, which we are going to put it out for our members on the archives, and enjoy myself without the burden of what to ask questions and what to look at and what to handle from other people who are raising their hands. I think peacefully I would like to place myself in front of the computer and look at this conversation once again. It is so interesting. And the other part is, you can't be what you can't seek. I mean, that's beautiful. These things are coming just like a Sachin Tendulkar's willow giving some fine shots without much of effort. But I think we should be grateful to recognize that it is you can't be what you can't see. You need to aspire for it and work for it. And as he very correctly and corroboratively says, that you will be successful in what you work, and not just what you pray, but you have to pray that you will work for success. And that's a very, very interesting interesting connection that he has provided. Empathy is kindness in motion, power of a hug and touch and small actions of care. They bring about hope, and they give turnaround situations for everyone in this world. I think we need to practice all these things, and hopefully we all will get. And if you can't see an eye to eye, at least you can get to see heart to heart. This is very, very useful and doable. And the messages of hope and what's emerging, because he has a ringside view of what's happening across various campuses, especially with the youngsters, even outside the campus also. He says there is a lot of hope, and we soon are going to be doing extremely well in entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs do not wait for government policies, although the government is very, very actively encouraging startups and creating a policy framework that is amenable to growing this entrepreneurship. And that's the reason we reach what we are the third largest unicorns from a country like India that's been having. So the thing or two that he has advised for the academic institutions is to focus what they are continuously doing, that is education, and get to specialization when there is a need, like what ICFAI has been doing, having centers of excellence, having research and development, having case center which is globally acclaimed. I'm sure all these lessons are coming from his he's being on the board of the prestigious institution MDI. He has been the president of Alumni Association at MDI as well. I think those are valid points for us to apply in various education institutions, those members who are listening to. And one last point I want to mention, that your appreciation and genuine praise for India Today and how Mr. Arun Puri has grown. One of the members I just checked has joined from India Today group. I'm sure they're going to take that message to Mr. Arun Puri, and I will tell him when I meet him next time in Delhi myself. Thank you so much, Dr. Batra, for this enriching session. You are a very, very good human being, and you are on your way to being an amazing businessman. And there are lessons from you every time. May God bless you, and thank you for your time and expertise.
Thank you so much, Sudhakar Garu and Mr. Prasad. Just before I end, you're very kind to me, and I just want to express my gratitude. And I want to say to all viewers, we all are selfish to some extent. We should be, that's okay. But a lot of times we can be selfless. If we can maintain a balance between those two, we'll be successful. And you should do away with the 3 C's. One is comparing. Don't compare yourself to anyone. Second is criticizing. I mean, we're in the media. We have a job, but beyond that, don't criticize, because you don't know what the person is going through. And third is complaining. Don't complain. Complain locks the doors of abundance. Saksham banao apne aap ko. Make yourself, don't have to complain. Things come to you. And the 3 H's you should embrace are, one is hard work. I don't know any other. Smart work, short work, this humility, be humble. And last is have hope. Every day wake up believing that today will be better than yesterday, and be grateful. Gratitude will lead you to compassion, success, fulfillment. Be expressing gratitude to your immediate environment, to flowers, to the air, to people around you, to your parents, to your children, to your brothers, sisters, to your co-workers. So God bless you. All the best. Thank you, Sudhakar Garu and Mr. Prasad, for this opportunity. I also enjoyed it fully.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for this enriching conversation that we have had just now. On behalf of all the participants, I thank Dr. Batra for his valuable insights and tips into making everyday life very simple and extremely useful and being hopeful. On this note, I want to thank Professor Prasad as well, and all the members who raised some valid questions this evening. We look forward to fueling these lessons into arranging what is called 102, that is the 102nd leadership conversation next Friday. The numbers are becoming 3 digits, and therefore it is mouthful to actually express the number. But 102 is on 28th of April, 6:30 p.m. and we'll all have another enriching discussion. Till then, keep reading The Journey of a Business World and how entrepreneurship has been dabbled into and how the ups and downs have been balanced and normalized and how the organization stays afloat. It's a great case study, and Marketing White Book is their flagship brand, and it comes up with an amazing content every single time, every single year. A lot of marketing professionals and businessmen look forward to holding a copy in their hands, and that's an amazing brand to build. And therefore, with this, I would like to thank you also for participating and continuing to help us. Let's come together to learn on the next Friday at 6:30 p.m. on April 28th. Thank you very much and have a great weekend.